I don't care what you think about Hasan Piker. I just want to point that out immediately before I begin the video. I know he's a very controversial figure. I know he has a bunch of people that are against him. I grasp that. I hold it in my hand. I'm holding it in my greedy little paws. I'm telling you, I grasp that you think Hasan Piker's a bad person. He abused his dog. He didn't abuse his dog. He's doing great for young men. That is unimportant to this video in totality. I mean this with my whole chest. It is so unimportant, your opinions and personal gripes with Hasan Piker. My personal gripes are also unimportant too, because Hasan Piker just got served a subpoena. Federal officials have served subpoena to Marxist political influencer Hasan Piker and Code Pink founder Suzanne Medea Benjamin as part of a wider investigation into whether U.S. organizations and leaders violated U.S. laws and sanctions in supporting Cuba's communist regime. Now, this is very important. There's a bunch of other people that got in this subpoena. And just to explain, if you don't know what a subpoena is, because I realize a lot of people don't know what a subpoena is a court order request for information. Attorneys use subpoenas to gather information that will help their client in a civil or criminal case, or that will damage the other side's case. Sometimes evidence obtained through a subpoena can be a turning point into a legal proceeding. Subpoenas are court ordered, but that doesn't mean that judges are the only people authorized to issue them. Many subpoenas are issued by attorneys on behalf of the court and the jurisdiction where they practice. After all, it's attorneys representing clients who want the information. So there's a lot of different kinds of subpoenas. We don't know the exact kind of subpoena it is just yet. So yeah, subpoenas can be used in almost any area of law. So it's not really super serious, to be quite honest with you, but I'm going to read the article to further explain that he has been served a subpoena over Cuba trip. Hasan Piker, you know, you've seen the face, you've seen the man. Women swoon over him like crazy. He posts a lot of thirst traps, he goes crazy. Hasan Piker has been reportedly subpoenaed by federal officers as part of a widening investigation into whether U.S. activists violated laws and sanctions while supporting Cuba's communist regime. The far-left Twitch streamer and Code Pink founder Medea Benjamin were served request for information by the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control tied to March trip to Cuba, organized through the Nostria America convoy, according to Fox News Digital. So this is the person, this is what we got going on. This is Medea Benjamin, that's who it is. Investigators are reportedly examining whether activists illegally financed travel, coordinated logistics, and conducted prohibited transactions involving Cuba, including possible stays at the hotels on the U.S. Department's restricted list. The investigation is reportedly part of a broader federal crackdown involving the Treasury, Justice, and State Departments into alleged foreign influence operations and extremist political network operating inside the U.S., sources told Fox. As many as 40 Americans were under scrutiny, with more subpoenas expected. I'm going to Cuba. I'm joining the Nostria America convoy. So this is the whole thing, right? Piker, a self-described Marxist and socialist, posts about the Triple Line before traveling to Havana alongside coping activists and groups connected to billionaire Neville Roy Signum's left-wing funding network. So that's the big thing there. That's the big thing that's happening over in totality. So I want to point this out, that I don't think that it's that serious. As a matter of fact, I'm sure the investigation is going to be moot and not much is going to come up from the entire thing, because they're kind of do this to kind of tell people that Hasan is a bad person. If you hear people talking about Hasan Piker, he's evil. So this is called a dictator tactic. Now, you may not know what this means because you don't know about history, but this is a dictator tactic. So I'm going to show one thing before I even begin to go on my little tangent here. What are they doing about Ghislaine Maxwell? Whole bunch of nothing, actually. Let me tell you what's going on. With Ghislaine Maxwell, this is what, and Ghislaine Maxwell, you don't know about the Epstein files. The reason I'm bringing this up is because Hasan's getting stuff done, but nobody's talking about the Epstein files. On terms of pardoning the Miss Maxwell, on terms of pardoning her, I can't comment on that. Only the president can decide that, but who knows? Crazier things have happened. So I'm a little bit confused about that entire thing. Just wanted to point that out, that crazier things have happened. So here goes my entire thought process about the thing, right? It is horrible that a Twitch streamer is actively getting subpoenaed, but you can subpoena anybody realistically. The federal government doing it doesn't really make it that much of a difference. I don't think so. But he's a Twitch streamer, not a spy. He's not a terrorist. It's because of their new crackdown on anything that is communist or Marxist, and they're very anti-trans, and they're doing all this stuff to scare people into doing that, because this is really a scare tactic, right? He's kind of just a guy with a microphone. That's it. If I could be so bold, Hasan is an activist, but he's not the biggest concern. A lot of people are scared that he's radicalizing a lot of people, more so through clips and stuff of that variety. And sure, I guess I'll give you that, but this is horrifying for the average person, Because Hasan has money, he has a legal team, he can fight this. This isn't really going to be that big of a deal for him, to be quite honest with you. He can just figure that out, and he'll get more publicity because he's going to be on the news a lot. He's going to be the big subject of debate for a lot of Fox News correspondents. A lot of right-wingers are going to use Hasan as basically their punching bag for a large part of what's going on here. So that's basically what's going to happen. However, if they can subpoena Hasan Piker and then have a bunch of people agree that he should be subpoenaed, the average person is going to get cooked, because the average person does not have millions of followers, doesn't have enough money to survive prolonged government attention. If the public gets trained to cheer every time a political figure they dislike gets investigated, then we lose. I don't know how to tell you that better. We lose. We lose bad. People are reacting emotionally instead of very structurally, is what they should be doing. Modern politics has become professional wrestling for all these wicked, poisoned adults going on. Every headline to me feels as if it's the sweet shit music. It's the people's elbow. It's a finishing move for a lot of people. That's what the headlines feel like every single time I read them, because I'm discovering that people aren't really reading past the headlines. People aren't going that extra step further and going and saying, I'm going to read this entire article, which I've shown on this channel is basically just 3 to 4 paragraphs of much needed context to basically debunk the article over entirely. Every subpoena they give somebody is going to be a victory dance. That mentality to treat everything as if it's modern spectator, Coliseum, gladiator garbage is not healthy. It's very dangerous. You should never want governments to become more comfortable investigating speech adjacent political behavior unless there is overwhelming evidence of actual criminal intent. There should be overwhelming evidence of actual criminal intent. Because if you allow people to be investigated for small things, you're opening yourself up to be investigated just for simply existing. Let's say you shared a meme that said, oh, I hate ICE agents. Oh, this could be far left extremism. Oh, this is disgusting. Let's say you got hit at a routine traffic light, like a routine traffic light stop, and then the cop agitates you a little bit and you say, I hate cops. ACAP forever. You could get subpoenaed. You couldn't get investigated because Donald Trump could posture it as, oh, we're investigating the inner networks of people. These could be left-wing political media. I don't know if you know this. This is actually really important. People said that I was a paid left-wing government shill because of the stuff I talk about. On Twitter, for a long time, I was known as a paid left-wing government shill. They said I was getting paid off by Russia. I would have loved to get paid off by Russia, but sadly, I have not gotten reaching out by the Kremlin in any capacity. I have not been reached out by, I don't know, Krampus. I haven't reached out by anybody. Nobody's decided to reach me up. I didn't get an email from Vladimir today. I'm sorry about that. I'd love it if you tried to investigate me. That'd be cool. But they're now going after just regular people. And one day it may be done to me. It may be done to any small channel. It may be done to anybody doing this. And I don't want that kind of publicity on a realistic note. I don't really care about that kind of publicity because it doesn't help in the long run. It doesn't help for anything. And every time you clap, you're giving them permission to continually do this. This is not a mastermind revolutionary plotting to overthrow the government from a volcano base like in James Bond or something of variety. This guy is a streamer. That's what he does. A guy whose job partially involves arguing with people who have anime profile pictures. That's his job. It's part of my job too. That's what they do. The scale of the response feels absurd when compared to the actual threat positioned and presented to the people. Regular people recognize that disconnect even if they dislike them personally. I think you should recognize that because there is a weird, wild disconnect between that. And you need to understand that the recognition behind this, the fact they're using Hasan Piker and all these Fox News media grifts and saying that he's the worst thing ever. The left's so-called Joe Rogan, but he'll never be Joe Rogan. He doesn't have the heart to be Joe Rogan because our Joe Rogan is the greatest Joe Rogan ever. Is basically what they're doing all the time. The real issue to me beyond the subpoena, because subpoena is just regular. You can get subpoenaed for anything. I've been subpoenaed before. It doesn't really matter that much. It's cross investigation. Lawyers do it all the time. Courts do it all the time. I'm not really on that. The real issue to me is the normalization, right? When you let's take Trump for example. I'll use that. Trump normalized insanity in politics. So now every politician is kind of just saying really insane stuff. They're seeing that they can say and test the limits of what it is, because every politician is actively trying to get a clip that gets their entire party in a 20-second little barrage of things. And then that clip gets spread out through everything. And people say, well, I like Bernie Sanders. He said something good in 20 seconds. And then I kept scrolling on TikTok. Well, I appreciate this person and this person and this person. He said something good in 20 seconds, and I appreciate that. Normalization is how societies drift into accepting things they would have once considered outrageous. That's what's going on. 10 years ago, people would have asked why federal resources were being directed toward an internet personality over political travel. That's what they would ask. Now half the internet is going to react with this big excitement because politics has fused itself with revenge culture and team sports, because we've now turned politics into O State versus Michigan. That's how we've turned politics. Well, if you're right wing, you're O State. If you're left wing, you're Michigan. Or if you're left wing, you're O State. And if you're right wing, you're Michigan. It doesn't really matter which one it is, because it's all left right. That's all it is. We are not looking at the people at the top. Did you know, and I keep bringing this up, and I will keep bringing this up every single day, Donald Trump can no longer be investigated by the IRS. I will never, ever, ever stop talking about this. Donald Trump can no longer be investigated by the IRS. Do you know how horrifying that is? He can't be investigated at all. Anybody that knows him cannot be investigated either. He has immunity, right? He has genuine immunity. It's a new settlement term. Now, I don't know if this is truly passed yet in totality, but the new settlement term bars IRS from investigating Trump, his family, for past tax issues. This is anybody that Trump likes. Can't bring claims against President Donald Trump, his family, or businesses for past tax issues. That's horrifying. I will never get over this, because this is the most insane amount of corruption I've ever seen. Ever. Right? It's self-dealing, because Trump's lawsuit and how the administration resolved it has been labeled self-dealing by the president's critics, since Trump consoles the executive branch agencies that were deciding how to respond to a lawsuit he brought in his personal capacity. Imagine this, right? Let me explain how corrupt this is, because you're probably not grasping how corrupt this is. The League of Super Evil investigated themselves to see if they were evil. Trump abruptly dropped the case after signals that the judge could probe whether it was a legitimate legal dispute belonging in court. According to the new document dated Tuesday and signed by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, a federal government is forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing claims or examinations arising from matters pending before the IRS, including tax returns filed by Trump before the agreement was reached. The language applies not just to Trump, but to his family, trust companies, and other affiliates. This is the most horrifying statement I have ever read in my entire life. And we cannot do anything about it. We genuinely can't do a single thing about that, because that's in legal coding. That's what it is. That's the nastiness of it. But we treat everything like sports games all the time, so it doesn't really matter. They want the state to crush enemies temporarily without realizing they're helping build presidents. Presidents survive long, way after their own side loses power. Government hands change occasionally, right? That's weird to me. The power you celebrate today can belong to people you despise tomorrow. Think of that for a moment. I want you to really think about that. Doesn't matter if you're left, doesn't matter if you're right, doesn't really matter. The power you celebrate today can belong to the people you despise tomorrow. Now, and I gotta state this because people are gonna get my words confused here. A subpoena is an investigation tool. It does not equal guilt. It does not equal conviction. It does not even guarantee wrongdoing occurred. But the investigation itself, that's the horrifying part. There's going to be fear, financial stress, reputational damage to Hasan Piker. People are going to say, didn't you get subpoenaed by the federal government? You're evil. There's this psychological pressure to it. Even when aimed at visible political figures, if nothing happens legally, they're going to say the message is going to go through. You got to watch yourself. We can do this. This message is a punishment. And they're talking about we got to go for any pro-trans rhetoric. We got to go for anything that's pro-Israel pro-Islam. I think it's pro-Muslim or pro-Islam more so than anything. They love Israel. That's the whole thing there. It's not the legal mechanism that's the horrifying part to me. It's the atmosphere. There's a growing hunger for cultural this punishment, right? People want punishment all the time. Let's take, and this is a strange example, the Amazing Digital Circus. The Amazing Digital Circus fans, they are trying to cancel Glitch. They're saying they're evil. They're saying we should do mass dislike. They're trying to launch mass dislike campaigns because people just want to feel powerful by taking down a big figure. People want destruction, career destruction, financial destruction, social destruction, emotional destruction. They want enemies flattened into paste and displayed like hunting trophies. Once that emotional culture merges with government power, it's going to become really dangerous. A democracy becomes unhealthy when citizens view investigations as entertainment content instead of serious state actions with long-term implications for the future of what's going on. History has shown us this over and over again. Governments test social tolerance through unpopular figures first. Nobody starts with sweet grandmother feeding pigeons in the park. They start with the people the public already dislikes. The radicals, the loudmouths, the fringe personalities, creators, activists, protesters, trans people, black people, gay people, media figures who can be framed as deserving scrutiny. Once people emotionally accept the mechanism, it's going to be horrifying. Let me explain why this matters. They can fire you for saying something bad about Charlie Kirk. That's what they're doing. Fear scales downward incredibly fast in societies addicted to outrage. We are addicted to outrage all the time. It is so profoundly pathetic about a nation, to me, collapsing. It's collapsing. We have impossible housing costs. We have healthcare nightmares. We have deep corporate corruption, like I just showed you. Rising loneliness, whether it be male or woman. Algorithmic manipulation, wage stagnation, and political decay, somehow finding enough energy to aggressively scrutinize a live streamer. This is insane. His community spends its day posting reaction images and arguing about world events between advertisements for energy drinks and gaming chairs. That's what's going on. That's what we're witnessing here. This is spiritually embarrassing. It is. A government should feel massive when confronting massive threats. When it starts looming heavily over internet personalities while ordinary people struggle daily to survive economically and emotionally, something about the priorities begin to feel very warped to me. Regular citizens should question that. The streamer is not the point of this whole argument. That's why I said in the beginning, Hasan Piker is not the point of this. The government is going to investigate you. It already has the authority. We want your indifference, is what the government always says to you. They want your exhaustion, your willingness to look away because you do not like the person in the crosshairs. Indifference is the quietest form of consent. It is the most common, the most dangerous, and the hardest to notice, and the easiest to give. Now, a lot of people are going to ask me, well, what can we do about this? What can we do? It's a great question. And I don't want to offer anything right now until we figure out the government won't try to investigate me. So all I can say is have hope. It's really all I can say right now is have hope. I don't like Hasan Piker that much. I'm not really super against him. I think he is overall a net neutral in terms of things. He's very easy to clip farm and rage bait. And because we're in a clipping culture, people are easy to excite him very easily. So I can't really speak on how I truly feel about Hasan Piker in the grand scheme of things, because I feel as though there's a lot of things that are going on in his life that, well, I feel as though he could probably avoid. He's very popular. Women love him indefinitely. He's very attractive. He's tall. He's very hairy. He's bulky. He has the perfect dad bod. And he seems to care about politics. He seems to be emotionally intelligent. Now, this is a bit of an aside here, but people have been telling me a lot of stuff about Hasan Piker and trying to get me to hate him because of his past videos and actions. I'm gonna play a past video of his because he has a bunch of videos like this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what he used to do. Now, I don't think this is how he is the person now. I think people can grow and change. But I think it's important to show why people are saying, well, he used to say this, and how people can grow and change over the years. I am all for growth in totality. I'm going to show you previous Hasan Piker, and I'm assuming that this is him because I've seen a lot of stuff of him saying stuff like this. I'm not sure if people are deep faking that crazy. So let's go ahead and listen to Hasan Piker from many years ago.
You might think, wait a minute, there's no way this is gonna work. Yes, it does. Let's get out of here. It's time to get out of there, and it's time to separate her from her herd. Meaning her crowd of girlfriends that are going to do their best to cockblock you because they're fat and lonely. If let's get out of here doesn't work, you exchange numbers, she leaves, you guys talk later. And you continue on your conquest for the rest of the night. If the let's get out of here does work, you have successfully left the club with a hot girl, hopefully, in the cab, and you're going to your place or her place. Now, once you're in a more intimate one-on-one situation, it's much easier to get things moving forward. If you hadn't played the finger fun already in the club, now is the time to utilize those magic fingers. Take her back to your house, show off that impressive vinyl collection that no one else gives a shit about, and go into town. Once you bring them back home, it doesn't matter how impressive your Spotify playlist is, or however many stamps you've collected in 21 years of virginity. The only thing that'll matter is your teacup pig. If you don't have that, it doesn't really matter what you have. You should move on to the sex as soon as possible. Pour a glass of Yellowtail because you have nothing better. Put some Marvin Gaye on and get your freak on for the first time in your life ever. You're welcome. And that concludes our bro tip of the week. Leave your comments and ideas and opinions that I really truly care about in the section below. And if you don't, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to have sex with your dog. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I'm Hasan Piker and this is Bro Tip. This week's Bro Tip is about bringing out the alpha male in you. A few things to consider when you're thinking about Lady Gaga as a top contender for Babe of the Week should be the fact that she might have a penis. The fact that Lady Gaga might have a small penis does absolutely terrify me. Here's why the 5-second rule works. Because when you start thinking for longer than 5 seconds, you're immediately not thinking with your dick and also thinking with this pesky thing up here that we like to call our brains. So once you start thinking with your brain, you're immediately going to psych yourself out. Come back again next week when we discuss the legendary question of all time. Old enough to count, old enough to mount? Question mark? I want to say thank you to Miley Cyrus for showing off her camel toe at the VMAs the other night. I always knew Hannah Montana was a little slut. Don't even try to hide it. Look, this is a classic example of what happens when your father doesn't pay attention to you. You turn out to be a slut who's craving for attention, and then I tend to pick you up at a bar late night and bang you out on the first.
Now, I'll make a whole video about that in the future one of these days, but I wanted to show you that this is what Hasan Piker used to be. Now, he used to be misogynistic, very alpha male, very big bro energy. That's basically, you could have judged the book by its cover back in the day. And he has grown and shown that he has become greater than that, is what I'd like to believe. Now, I don't really like to judge people on far past actions because this was many moons ago during edgy YouTube. I don't judge Joji for Filthy Frank in the grand scheme of things, and I believe everybody has the capacity to change and grow. Please, I beg of you, look at those clips and look at them objectively as a past of somebody that has grown and changed over the course of many moons. I believe that he still carries the same rage and anger and the same kind of talking patterns that he spoke of back in the day, but I don't think that deserves the scrutiny of the subpoena. The reason I brought this up is simply by virtue of I wanted to show that because you guys keep telling me, hey, you should have seen Hasan in the past. He was way worse. I've seen it. I already know what it is. I already seen it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I will make a big video about Hasan Piker and that stuff later in the week, maybe in 2 weeks. But yeah, have a very lovely night wherever you at. I'm out. Peace. Bye.
I'm your Nick and night, be my Laurel Ooh, happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. Ooh, I love the ride when you're free.